I'm just waiting for the YouTube stream. I'm going live on YouTube, so
Okay.
cool. 1, 2, 3. Cool. All right. And 1, 2, 3. And welcome everybody to another glorious episode of the Put on Waivers podcast NFL show. I'm your host Dwayne Douglas, podcasting on the beautiful shores of the Pacific Ocean. I was at the beach today, loving it. Had a great day. I had a great day on the beach. It was beautiful. Had a lot of fun out there. It was absolutely magnificent out there today. Great hot day. We had a weekend in Palm Springs, Indian Hills, living the life a little bit, Ryan. Ryan Holmes is here talking. We're talking NFL draft, and we're gonna do a little mock draft for you as well. So you wanna stay tuned for that. Ryan, how you doing today?
Doing good. I spent the weekend in Malibu at lovely Pepperdine, as we've mentioned
Yes,
on here, and it
the
was hot
Pep.
today. It was about 85 degrees
That's a
in
heck of
Ventura
I love
County
it.
where I was at today.
I love it. I love it. I love when it's hot. 858-429 is our text line, and 858-429-9465 our text line. You can reach Ryan on Twitter at RHOLM22, and then myself at RTPOW podcast as well. Twitter, Instagram live, the whole YouTube live, all that good stuff like that. So definitely check us out there at anywhere you can find our podcast as well too as well. So Atlanta, Georgia, Hartford, Connecticut, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and Houston, Texas, and San Francisco, California. My Giants, of course. Want to thank everybody for listening to our show out there in those cities as well. So let's start the draft going. Let's get the draft going, get the draft on and popping as far as that goes. The draft is here, and we're looking at, we're gonna go from a mock draft from 1 through 17. We'll finish it next week, and so we have time to talk about some of these picks. I'm gonna try to do a little draft simulator here, so we can also see the picks as well, give you a little visual at home, if you will. See if that one goes through. We're gonna start this bad boy up. All right. So I can share this out. So I can share that. If I can't. And the first pick of the 2021 NFL draft is owned by the Jacksonville Jaguars. I don't think there's any question on who they're going to pick. We can try to be jokesters and try to play around with it, but we know who's going first, right?
Yeah, with the first pick, the Jaguars, they're taking Trevor Lawrence out of Clemson. That's pretty much a done deal. And he was tweeting in the last couple of days to Jaguars fans, so that thing's done.
I think it's done. Done deal. It's the reason why Urban Meyer came out of retirement. As far as team needs and everything like that, they need a whole bunch. That defense was one of the worst in football last year, so we have to see what happens there. But I think after they take Lawrence, I think there's no question that they have to start going through and um, try to protect him after that. It's a good tackle draft. It's a good
Yep.
draft for that, and it just seems like makes a lot of sense for them to go ahead and do that, right?
Absolutely. I would put their top three needs are obviously quarterback one, offensive tackle two, and then I would say wide receiver three. I think they're okay in the backfield with James Robinson. They have a running back, but they need to build those tackles up to protect Lawrence to give him a chance. And then he needs more weapons outside. They have DJ Chark, Laviska Chenault, who they took last year, but they could use another receiver, a tight end, just another weapon to be on the field.
Yeah, no question about it. Second pick in the draft goes to the Jets, and the Jets, you know, they could be in a situation where they end up are drafting Sam Darnold part two. Like they could be in the same situation. A West Coast quarterback. We don't know. We don't know what Zach Wilson's going to be as a player, but I mean, he's going to be the pick, no question about it. I think there's no question about it. He's going to be a pick. That's why I had them picking. I don't see any way around it. They're definitely going to pick Zach Wilson, and they're going to move on. I think that you can get enamored by a player, and you can just kind of get blinded as well. He's slight. He's not the biggest guy in the world. Doesn't mean he can't play in the league. But are you worried about his size going into the National Football League?
Not anymore. If you would have asked me that question 5 or 10 years ago, obviously they were looking for prototype guys that were 6'3", 220 plus. But you've seen plenty of quarterbacks succeed. 6'1", 6'2", 210, 215. You want to make sure when he gets outside of the pocket that he is sliding and protecting himself or getting out of bounds. You don't want him taking shots in the open field. But I don't think it's too much of a worry inside the pocket as far as these guys getting hit anymore. If you hit a guy now, it's roughing the passer. So I don't think that's an issue. It's just, can he be safe and protect himself when he gets outside the pocket and close to the sidelines?
Yeah. So you have the next pick, right? San Francisco, and this is going to be the pick that kind of starts the whole thing. There's been rumors about a lot of different people. Yeah, and this is kind of where the draft kind of starts. Will what John Middlecoff calls the most arrogant pick in the world take place, where they take Mac Jones at three, if it does happen? What are your thoughts about this pick?
Not taking Mac Jones, and we've talked here. Yes. I think this pick needs to be Justin Fields, and I'm going to select Justin Fields for the 49ers. I'm looking for a quarterback that has upside to be a top 5 to 10 quarterback in this league with the athletic ability to make plays, get first downs on the ground. He can throw the deep ball. And this is a perfect system where you can bootleg him and get him out on the perimeter and give him run pass options. And he's a phenomenal athlete. So the upside here is way higher than Mac Jones for me. Jones has obviously a higher floor. You're going to get a competent starter, but I don't think he's ever going to move the needle in terms of being a top 10 or even 12 quarterback in this league. So let's take Justin Fields and put him on the 49ers.
Yeah. It's interesting you say that, because Justin Fields is a guy who they did say, I think Michael Lombardi said that this is a guy who he will definitely not be the third pick in the draft. So that means he probably won't go to the Niners, if you believe, his sources and what he says about the whole situation there. I don't know. I mean,
that's who I would take.
Yes. Some of these guys, like, it's weird to me, because it's just a weird situation, because it's like, why would you? Like, I mean, I like the guy. So, I mean, I like the guy a lot. So I'm not sure why anybody else would not take him. I just feel like Fields the way he runs, the way he throws, the bootleg action, it just seems like it's a perfect fit for what Kyle wants to do. But we'll see. The Shanahans know what they want to do there, I guess.
Is it a bad thing if you take Justin Fields and you get Cam Newton from his time with the Panthers? I don't think that's a bad thing. And if you're getting a guy that's going to give you, 800 to 1,000 yards on the ground, he's going to be a competent enough thrower. He can throw the deep ball, and he's just going to present a huge problem to defenses week in and week out. And if you go back and study his tape at Ohio State, he didn't run as much as you think he did. He threw a lot of passes, a lot of pro-style stuff in that offense with Ryan Day. So I don't think he's as far behind as the media wants you to believe.
So I have the Falcons here, and I think that this is where you're going to see a little bit of shakeup here. You could see a trade here possibly, but I'm going to go with I think what I've heard was that the owner of the Falcons has final say or will have a voice in the room. So whenever you have that happen, something freaky can always happen, and I think Kyle Pitts is going to be the pick here. And the reason why, I just feel like he just wants to add more offense. I think he has a great relationship with Matt Ryan. He's not ready to move on from Matt Ryan, I don't believe. So in any way whatsoever. So I would say Kyle Pitts, or maybe trade out of this pick for the Falcons here.
Yeah, I'm still leaning quarterback, but I agree with you. If it's not a quarterback here, and at this point, if Fields goes 3, I don't know if it's going to be a fit at 4 for Lance or Jones. So I would lean Kyle Pitts, as you mentioned here. He can, in that offense, if you put him with Ridley and obviously Julio Jones outside, Russell Gage, and then you give him Matt Ryan. If you give Matt Ryan that kind of target, the only concern I would have in that offense is he's going to split out and he's going to want to play a little bit of X wide receiver, and you want to match him up outside, but you already have Julio Jones to do that. So the majority of his snaps, if he goes to the Falcons, are going to be lined up as an inside receiver, either in the slot or lined up as a general tight end. And is he going to be as effective there as he would be out wide like he did in college?
Yeah. The Bengals are at 5. Thoughts about the Bengals here? Because I have thoughts about it, but go ahead.
Yeah, the Bengals, for me, it's easy. You gotta protect Joe Burrow. You see a lot of mock drafts with Jamar Chase going to them to give him a weapon. They played together, obviously, at LSU. I would go the other route. I'm going to give them Penei Sewell here, the offensive tackle from Oregon. Slide him in at left tackle, and you have a guy for the next 10 to 12 years. I know they took Jonah Williams at Alabama a couple years ago, but these are two totally different prospects.
Mm-hmm.
Penei Sewell is a way better prospect than Williams was. And you slide Williams over to the right side and you have your two tackles there. So I think that they should take the tackle out of Oregon with that pick.
I think they're going to take Chase. And the reason why I think they're going to take Chase is because I feel like when a Amari Cooper, when a big time free agent receiver or tight end is available, they're not going to Cincinnati. The only way they can get them is if they draft them, so they can hold their rights for 4 or 5 years. So that's why I think Chase might be the guy. And I think they also, there's that. Have you seen that meme where they have, Joe Burrow throwing a pass where where he has plenty of time because he's getting protection, and then other parts where Chase is wide open, but he's on the ground, passed out from getting hit. It's really funny. It's true. It's pretty funny. But I kind of think that I'll go with your pick. I know you want. I think you want Sewell. We'll go with Sewell here as far as that goes. I think that is a possible wide receiver situation there because you can't get big time receivers to go there.
And Burrow's coming off an ACL here, so they have to protect him. You have a running back with Joe Mixon. You have Tyler Boyd. You have, obviously, T. Higgins, who they took last year, who had an impressive rookie season. So they have some weapons there already. And I think it's easier to find a wide receiver down the line, second, third, fourth round, to come in and be a part of that group than it is to find a guy that obviously is going to protect the quarterback at the rate that he's going to protect him.
So I have who do I have here? I have the Dolphins here on the clock, a trade from Philly as far as that deal goes. It's either really, Waddle or Smith. I'll probably in this situation, they want as many weapons as humanly possible for their quarterback, so they can give no excuses. Has to be a no excuse thing for Tua here, because if Herbert keeps going on this trajectory, they're going to look foolish and they're going to look bad. So I'm going to roll with maybe more of the more solid prospect here and Jalen Waddle. So I'll have Jalen Waddle going to the Dolphins here as far as that goes.
For me it's Chase, because I had Sewell going. I would lean definitely wide receiver here. I would lean Chase if he was still on the board. But Waddle's a solid pick.
Solid pick there, yeah. You got 7. You got the Lions.
Lions need weapons too. It's another team that desperately needs a wide receiver. They could use a cornerback. They can use an offensive lineman. I don't think there's a tackle there at 7. I don't think Slater is going to go that high. So, it's going to narrow down to wide receiver, corner. Mm-hmm. And I would probably lean wide receiver at that point. A little early, I think, for Patrick Surtain. So I would give them Devontae Smith out of Alabama.
Devontae Smith. So Smith is off the board. Bama. Another recruiting coup here for Nick Saban, as both of those guys go off back to back. I mean, he puts receivers in the NFL like these companies put food in the grocery store. It's crazy. It's crazy as far as that goes. So you have Sam Darnold now. Is it possible they kind of roll with a quarterback here? Do they run? What do the Panthers do here in this situation? We have a lot of quarterbacks off the board. I think that this is a tremendous opportunity to take a quarterback. I know that Sam Darnold's already there. I get it. I understand it. But I'm going to go Trey Lance here because he can sit. He's got to play right away. He hasn't got to play right away as far as that goes, right? I mean, he can play. He doesn't have to play right away. He can play for a small period. He can sit for a small period of time. If Darnold goes nuts, that's great. That's great for you. You can trade him. You can maybe groom Lance. If he really plays next level, you can maybe trade Lance. Who knows? He have a lot of value. What do you think about what the Panthers will do here? I got him taking a quarterback. What do you think?
I think it's either offensive tackle if they want to protect Sam Darnold, but I could easily see your situation where it's Trey Lance. And then what you do is, like you said, if Sam Darnold goes out and balls, you have him under contract for next year, and you flip him and you recoup the picks that you traded for him. If he has a really good year, maybe you could get a 1 back for him. You probably can't. He's going to be making $25 million next year. But if they really believe that Trey Lance, with a year of seasoning, can be their guy moving forward, I could absolutely see them doing that. On the flip side, Sam Darnold's 23 years old, and they just gave up 3 draft picks for him. But maybe they're not in an opportunity next year to pick a quarterback. So if there's a quarterback that they like, I think they roll the dice on him.
Yeah, I think it's two. Speaking of a team that's kind of quarterback needy and tackle needy, you have the Broncos pick here. I think the Broncos listen. If they're in a spot where they could trade up. They don't got to trade up that far. I think they could. The spot where the Falcons are is going to be the hot spot, right? You know, I don't know how you don't entertain quarterback if you're the Broncos. I've seen enough. I haven't seen enough as a Raider fan. I want them to keep Drew Lock there. But so tackle looks like tackle and quarterback are their biggest needs. They made some big moves in the offseason. What are your thoughts about the Broncos here as they hit the clock at number 9?
I think they're going to discuss quarterback, but in our scenario, Mac Jones is the only guy left, and I don't think he's John Elway's type of quarterback. So I'm going to say they're going to pass on the quarterback here. I actually think they're going defense into the secondary. They lost, obviously, A.J. Boye, who they released. They've had some injuries in the secondary. Vic Fangio as a defensive coach. I think that they're going to have their choice here of any corner they want, and I think they're going to take Patrick Surtain out of Alabama.
All right, so Patrick Surtain's off the board. Obviously, family in the NFL as well. It's interesting that he came out and said the Cowboys pick right after the Broncos, and he did come out and say that he wants to play for the Cowboys. Sorry, I mean, if you sorry, I mean you can't dictate where you want to go. Only Eli and John Elway, so among others, have had that one. So on our draft, we still have Chase on the board, right? So we have some really primetime players. We have Chase, we got Micah Parsons, we have Slater, Barmore, all these pieces like that on that team. I think
the Chase we gave to another team, but for some reason you went Waddle at 6, and it should have been Chase.
Okay, so yeah, so basically Waddle's still on the board. Waddle.
I would say Waddle's still on the board. Yeah,
Waddle's still on the board. All right, so so I have the Cowboys right now. Corner, I think I see them. I see they lose out on Surtain in our draft. So gonna roll with the next guy. I would say J.C. Horn, another guy who has some bloodlines in the NFL. Horn goes into Dallas.
Yeah, I could see that. I could see them addressing the offensive line too, trying to protect Dak Prescott with Slater still there on the board. Horn is moving up. He's probably a lock to go in the top 12 at this point, so I could definitely see the value there at 10. And Dallas needs help in the secondary.
Yeah, and now, as they used to say on the East Coast, the G-Men are on the board at 11. What do you think about the Giants?
They need to figure out what they have in Daniel Jones. They need help defensively off the edge. I don't think there's an edge rusher at 11 that's worth the pick. So I think this is going to be whichever wide receiver is still there. If it's Waddle, if it's Devontae Smith, they're there. So in our scenario, let's give them Jalen Waddle, who should still be there because we had the Chase pick that should have been. So let's go Jalen Waddle, number 11 for the Giants. I'll just put Chase there, but it should be Waddle.
It should be Waddle. So yeah, so obviously they improve that. They improve that wide receiver core, get some explosiveness there in New York. As they try to, try to get back to winning for Big Blue. I have the Eagles, and the Eagles can go so many different ways. Listen, if you watch that press conference, yikes! But they're just trying to build. They're trying to mold a head coach. They don't really want a head coach. They want to mold the head coach. So we'll see what happens with that team. Wide receiver, quarterback, wide receiver as one of the needs left. I can't see them rolling with a quarterback in this scenario. Wide receiver could be an option for them here. A lot of the big guys are gone, so maybe you're waiting on that one. You're looking at linebacker. I'm trying to kind of keep a guy around, who I might want to pick later, but I kind of see them just rolling with Micah Parsons here. He's the best player available. Either Micah Parsons or the kid out of Northwestern, the cornerback.
Yeah, Newsome.
Newsome. It's a passing game. I'm gonna give him Newsome. I give him Newsome. So Newsome goes to the Eagles.
Yeah, Eagles fans aren't going to be happy with that. They were picking 6. They trade down and they reach for a corner, but the board didn't fall their way. They had J.C. Horn and Patrick Surtain come off. They were probably hoping one of those tackles went to push someone down. Clearly, we still have the couple tackles on the board. They're probably going to come flying off here in the next couple of picks. So if this is the scenario the Eagles are in, the fans are probably hoping they trade down again and acquire more picks because that's a reach at 12. But they need someone, and there's other than Micah Parsons, if they're not okay with the off the field issues, then they have to take someone. And Newsome's going to be a good player. There's obviously other players there. Moving to the Chargers, this is easy. The Chargers need an offensive tackle. They have to protect Justin Herbert at all costs.
And the top guys are there.
They're all there. So I'm going to give them Slater out of Northwestern. They could just plug him in at left tackle and roll from there.
Cool. All right. So the Vikings now, who are another team that is plagued with left tackle issues. And here is where you might see the run on a position group. And I'm going to probably roll. I mean, like this, I'm going to roll with Christian Darrisaw right here. I just feel like you have a team that needs a tackle. They struggle with it. They have a stationary target in Kirk Cousins. It just makes all the sense in the world, right? To go get the best, one of the best offensive linemen there. The one thing I like about him is they show him the film at Virginia Tech, and they said, hey, you got to be a little bit more meaner, a little bit more nastier. And he was like, that's it. He was like, yeah, everything else looks great. So what he did, he became a little bit meaner and a little bit nastier. So he's a really good tackle. And he should help help the Vikings do a better job of protecting Kirk Cousins out there in Minnesota.
Yeah, absolutely. I like that pick. I think the Vikings, it comes down to, do they want the interior guy with Vera Tucker? Or do they want Darrisaw on the outside? Obviously, it's more valuable to have a tackle in this league, and I think Darrisaw hits a lot more checkpoints than Vera Tucker does. So you go with Darrisaw, who's the better player.
Yeah.
This would be a dream scenario for Patriots fans if we got to this point. I mean, there's no trades in this mock draft, so
yes.
Clearly there's going to be maneuvering around. We can't predict that. We just have to pick them in the order they are and fill team needs. This is easy. They need a quarterback. Mac Jones is sitting right there. You have the Belichick-Saban connection. If the draft fell this way and New England didn't have to use any draft capital, that'd be amazing. So let's give them Mac Jones, quarterback at Alabama.
He better be the most brilliant quarterback in the history of the NFL. Because, and I say this only because, I say it's probably tongue-in-cheek, because if I have to watch I had to turn off NFL shows this morning because every single guy was telling me how brilliant and smart he is. And okay, fine. We'll see when Robert Saleh's defense is all over him, and Miami is forcing fumbles and stuff like that. I mean, we'll see what happens as far as that goes. This is an interesting situation here. When you look at the Cardinals, I don't like the makeup of the Cardinals team, but some people do. So I'm gonna we'll see what happens as far as that goes. I have the Cardinals before we stop halfway through with the Raider pick. They do need some help in the interior defensive line. So I'm going to see if I can get him some help there. So that's too much of a reach as far as that goes. So I'm going to just see if I can find a corner for this team. Patrick Peterson has left the team. See if I can find a corner for him. He has some back issues, but has tremendous speed. I'm going to go with Caleb Farley going to the Cardinals with the 16th pick in the draft.
I could definitely see that. They need help outside, and they have to be able to match up with DK Metcalf up in Seattle, Tyler Lockett.
Deebo Samuel.
The Rams have targets. So if the medical checks out on him, he's definitely worthy of going 16th in this draft.
Yeah.
And they're almost in a win now situation because they have to pay that quarterback in the next 2 years. So they need help.
That's coming. It's coming.
If they didn't take Isaiah Simmons last year and Micah Parsons fell to them, I could easily see them taking Parsons. But you already have a similar player, size, weight, speed guy that you couldn't figure out what to do with Simmons. So I don't see them taking another linebacker there. So that makes sense to go Farley at that position.
Yeah, I kind of think it works out. And then we have This team who plays in Vegas. I gave you the pick because I have a thought on this pick. So the players who are available for the Raiders, we're gonna go halfway through this draft and finish the mock draft next week. So we have Micah Parsons, we have Trayvon Moreg, Christian Balmore. Let's see who else we got up here. We got JOK. We got some players here. You want to go tackle? You can go tackle. What do you think? Mike Mayock and John Gruden, Tom Cable, Gus Bradley, all those the brain trust out there in Vegas will do with the 17th pick.
So this is interesting. I tweeted out today what I think is going to happen. I think the Raiders are trading down out of this pick, and I think they're taking Richie Grant at some point in the back half of the first round, which I would love. I'm a huge Richie Grant fan. Taking him at 17 would be a reach. But we know this team will reach if they don't get the trade they want. We saw them do it with Cleveland Farrell. We saw them do it with Damon Arnett. If they truly believe Richie Grant is the best player available, I could see them going that route. I won't do that in this exercise. I'm not going to give them Richie Grant here. But I could definitely see them doing that.
Go ahead.
In the current draft format we have here, I think they're going to fill the tackle position with some guys that are available. But I think Tom Cable has a guy that he's picked out in the second round. And the Raiders have 2 third-round picks. And if they trade down in the first, they could pick up an additional third or fourth and use that to maneuver around in the second to get the guy that they have targeted. So in the real world, I'm going to say Richie Grant. In this exercise, I'm going to give them Tevon Jenkins out of Oklahoma State, the right tackle they could plug in. Nasty run blocker, mean guy, would fit right in with that Raider mentality. I don't think Micah Parsons is going to be the pick here. I know there's Raiders fans that love him. I don't think he's going to check the boxes off the field. And then in Gus Bradley's scheme at linebacker, they're looking for guys that can play sideline to sideline. They're not going to blitz. So you can take that out of the equation, thinking that they're going to have a linebacker and Parsons is going to get pressure on the quarterback. And they're just going to ask him to do 4 or 5 basic coverages. So they're not going to spend a lot of draft capital there. And I think that they're okay with Littleton, Morrow, Kwiatkowski, Muse, and obviously Javon White's there too. And I still think they could go out and sign another veteran. So if they spent the first round pick, let's say they took Micah Parsons, how much is he going to see the field in year one? Mm-hmm. I don't think he's going to see the field early. And I think that with the investments they have in those other 2 backers, they're going to let those guys play and see if they can play in the scheme. So Tevon Jenkins, to me, in this exercise is the obvious choice. But I do think Richie Grant is going to find his way in a Raiders uniform one way or another, which would make me very happy.
Is that like the buzz you've been hearing that they like that? They like him? I know Raider Twitter loves Rich. They love him. So is that? But that is like what Gus Bradley is like. They're saying that people are saying that he likes that player.
I've seen a couple of people tweeted out that they obviously had guys at his pro day. I've seen a couple of people tweet out the worst kept secret in the NFL right now is the Raiders have a high admiration for Richie Grant. From another number of people, not just fans, blue check mark, people that are in the industry that know that the Raiders are tied heavily to Richie Grant. And I was listening, obviously, to the radio today, just driving around in my car, and they were talking about the free safety needs in a cover 3 scheme. And they were talking about a safety who ran in the mid 4.6s. And they're just like, you can't have a safety that runs 4.6 and play this type of defense. The guy has to be a 4.4 guy, which obviously Richie Grant is. He ran, I think, 4.48. He can go down the slot. He can play man. He's got corner skills. He's a very versatile piece. He's the exact kind of guy they need to run this defense, and that piece is missing. They do not have that guy on this roster. And there's only 2 guys in this draft, in my opinion, that can come in right away and play. You can count on. That's Morrig and Grant. Yeah, maybe Andre Cisco, but he's coming off an injury. So the Raiders have to fill this position.
Ultimate. It's too bad that he has so many injuries because he is an ultimate playmaker. I mean, what do you have, like 13 picks in like 26 games, something crazy like that? Like the guy has a nose for the football. So I really would like, and you mentioned Andres, you mentioned a couple of people to me, and Andre Cisco was one of those guys that I was like, I looked him up immediately. He can play.
He's good. He's a ball hawk in the middle of the field. He's probably, if the Raiders could get him with one of those 2 third-round picks, it would be a steal. Now, is his tackling great? No. But he has range. He's going to cover sideline to sideline. He is aggressive. He's going to take chances, so he's going to give up some big plays. But he's going to make plenty of plays on the ball in the air. Yeah. But to play cover 1 and cover 3, you have to have a free safety with elite range. And there's only 3 guys in this draft that can come in and do that right away. And Cisco's injured, so maybe there's 2. But I am not comfortable going into the season with Carl Joseph playing free safety full time.
You're not. I understand. You mentioned that I can hear in your voice that you're not comfortable with that at all. No. So here is my thought process to number 17 if they stay at 17. Is that when I look at the defensive tackles, I say to myself, they don't have a guy even signed for next year in that group, right? Aren't they all 1-year contracts for this year?
All in 1-year deal, yeah.
So this is where, and this is the player who I'm not advocating for him to be the pick of the Raiders, but from Gus Bradley's work in Seattle and San Diego, he's guys who are not been, kind of whether character or maybe not, he's been good with some players, with some players who have been just, okay in some moments. I'm not a big fan of Christian Barmore, but I could see that pick coming only because of their current state of their defensive tackle position. What are your thoughts about that? Because I kind of feel like that's a possibility.
I think it is a possibility. To me, I think you get better value if he's there in the second round. I don't think he makes it to 48, but if you could trade up in the second round to get him. I just saw too much inconsistency. He's a 1-year starter. His pass rush, when guys got their hands on him, he didn't have a counter move. So he basically wins with a swim move quickly off the line. Once that's negated, he doesn't show you much. And he doesn't show up in the run game as much as you think for a guy that's 6'4", 310. But I can see he goes to Alabama, so we know Mike Mayock's probably got his name circled already. If you played Alabama or Clemson, Mike Mayock's got you moved up the board a little bit. I actually think that you could still see Melvin Ingram find his way into a Raiders uniform. He's still out on the market. He's overweight. And then he could play inside on third down. So if they're comfortable with the guys they have now on first and second down, and you bring in Melvin Ingram on a 1-year, $3 or $4 million deal and use him as just a situational guy inside and outside to spell some guys, and you're not asking him to play a full amount of snaps.
Yeah.
You could stop the run enough with the guys you have, but they clearly need interior pass rush, and I don't think it's Clelin Ferrell, but would Melvin Ingram look good in the uniform rushing on third down from the interior?
Yeah. I think so.
He could.
Yeah.
I hope they don't take Paramore, but you never know.
And I've been saying I've been seeing the list of the free agents who are still available, Ryan, and every day that money goes down, gets less and less. It gets less and less all the time. How does Jadeveon Clowney still get paid?
He made a tackle in a bowl game for Michigan against Michigan.
Yes, I remember. I recall that play.
I'm thinking that's it because it's not production. Now, if you're looking for hurries and guys creating pressure, he can still do that, but he's just never done it as far as putting the sack totals on the board. Now, if you're Cleveland, you're thinking, well, he's lining up across from, Myles Garrett. He's going to get single block. They can't roll the line his way. They can't chip him. And he's going to get a lot of one-on-one opportunities. I don't know. He's going to have to stay healthy, too. He can't stay healthy. And thinking of Cleveland, a name popped in my head. Did the Raiders look at Sheldon Richardson as possibly an interior pass rusher? I don't know. He's on the market now.
Does he fit that technique?
He could. I mean, he can give you pass rush on the interior. This guy is athletic enough to where he played outside linebacker at 300 pounds with the Jets. So, again, if you're only asking him to do it on passing downs, you're not asking him to play a full 60 snaps in a game on defense. He could. The Raiders, I think, have some move coming because there was no reason for them to release Hurst and Key when they did to clear up almost $5 million in cap room to sign Rasul Douglas. So there's a reason they created that cap room. They're going to tell you they let Hurst and Key go to give them an opportunity to find jobs before the draft, but clearly that's not it. They could have just waited and done that. So we'll see what happens, but we knew those guys were very on the bubble to make the roster. They weren't locks by any means, and clearly that panned out. I know a lot of Raider fans were upset on Twitter when Hurst got released, but
yeah,
Hurst hasn't done that. He creates pressure. He doesn't get sacks.
Yeah, he doesn't get home. Chevy Silverado on our YouTube live says 1 year deals are just nice way of saying rebuilding. So, well, I mean, 30 years of that. It's been 30 years.
We're in year 4 with John Gruden. Who are the guys in the last 4 years that are staples on this roster? I think there's less than 3 or 4 guys that you can say, okay, these are who they're building around. And, regurgitating these guys on and off the roster over 4 years with 1 and 2 year deals. And there should be 10, 12, 15 guys in this roster that are cornerstone pieces.
No question.
And there's just not, especially with the draft capital they had. And it's, okay, who's your flavor of the month free agent? And John Gruden brings them in, and then it doesn't pan out. And then they just recycle it the next year, and it hasn't paid off. So Chevy, Raider, whoever texts that in is right.
Yeah, it's no question about it. You got to have some core nucleus of your roster, and you got to have guys who are, you have a list of like 4 or 5 positions where you say we got to take care of these 4 or 5 positions and handle and like everything else, we just maybe they're in and out anywhere else, but like those positions we don't mess with. And I couldn't say what that position is. I mean, besides Carr being the quarterback and Josh Jacobs being a running back. I mean, Josh Jacobs is a guy who you talk about the worst kept secret with the Raiders and Richie Grant this year. Maybe the worst kept secret in that draft was Josh Jacobs. Like, I mean, Josh Jacobs everybody knew the Raiders were going to pick Josh Jacobs, and I wasn't a fan of Josh. I mean, I'm a fan of the player. I think he's a solid player. I just don't want to run him back in the first round when you have that many needs. When you have to replace Khalil Mack, you take as many defensive linemen as you possibly can until you replace Khalil Mack.
No, you're right. And you asked me, who are the cornerstones on this team? I would say Derek Carr. Now, whether that's long-term or not, but he is for the next 2 years. Colton Miller, I would say. Josh Jacobs, Darren Waller. And then after that, it gets hairy. Like, is it Hunter Renfrow? Is it Max Crosby? And I run out of names on defense quickly.
Yeah.
We're hoping it's Trayvon Mullen, it's John Abram, it's Damon Arnett. Those guys haven't proven it yet. And there's 4 guys on this roster. And we thought it was Gabe Jackson. We thought it was Rodney Hudson. We thought it was Trent Brown. We thought it was all these guys. We thought it was Cleve Farrell. It's not. So there's 4 guys on this roster that you can say these guys are cornerstones moving forward. Everyone else has to prove something.
Yeah, it's not looking great. I do think that possibly they don't have players on the team who don't of all those guys we talked about, getting drafted. They don't have guys who don't belong in the league. So Abram is an NFL player. I think Crosby's an NFL player. I think Cleveland Farrell's an NFL player. Mullen, Arnett, I think they would have gotten drafted regardless. Whether they were overdrafted or not, it doesn't really matter. They would have got drafted. So with that being said, let's just see if this head coach, and most notably this defensive coordinator, can get things out of him. I mean, this is, if you can't. I mean, I've been talking to people all over, people who I know work certain places. And if you cannot play this defense, you just, I don't know. It's not confusing for you. You should be able to play this defense fast. And quick.
I think it's a good fit for those guys. I think Arnett and Mullen specifically have what you're looking for as far as length and outside ability to play the different coverages, cover 1, cover 3, obviously in this defense. They have the ability to do that. John Abram has the ability to be a strong safety in this defense. So the key is the free safety. If you don't have the free safety, then the rest of it doesn't matter. He's the key to this defense along with the pass rush. So if the pass rush is, I'm not going to say league average. If it's in the top 20 in the league in sacks, let's just say they're 20th.
Yep.
And they have a competent free safety, then Arnett, Abram, and Mullen are going to look a lot better than they looked in Gunther's scheme. But until they do it, it's tough for me to say, okay, these guys are cornerstones. Let's see them do it for a season.
No, I agree.
I believe in Trayvon Mullen. I think he's going to be on this team long term. I just need to see it.
Yeah, no question about it. Some other news and notes from the NFL. Aldon Smith. I mean, geez, it just continues, right? It just continues for him. I think. It was a day after. I mean, who does the research for the Seahawks? Like it was a day after they
Yeah,
signed him. Like what's
they
what's
should have
going
known
on?
that.
It should have known then, right? As far as that goes, Alex Smith, 16-year career is over. Didn't make a Super Bowl, but almost did. I mean, that was a muff punt in that NFC Championship game that gave the Giants the win over the Niners. In that game, as far as that goes, we have the Watson's lawyer responded to the 22 lawsuits. We'll see what happens there. Um, and then we have, let's see here. I think that's pretty much it. The Bengals, try to change their uniforms. I don't know. I mean, I don't know
They
why
look the
that.
same to me.
I don't know what they really changed in that
Yeah.
as far as that goes. Let's see here. I have some couple of notes here as far as that goes. So Key and Hurst, I mean, not a big deal. I know Key is like, for the Raiders, the Key letting all these stuff go on social media. That's what like young people do. I'm not worried about that. But to hear people talk, we can't sit there and like make Mo Hurst because we like the story of Mo Hurst, cloud that he's just okay. He's not. I mean, he cleared waivers. Nobody claimed him yet. He's it's not like he's not. People are knocking on his door to go get Mo Hurst, right?
No, to me, he doesn't really give you anything in the run game. He doesn't hold up the double teams. Like he's a good penetrator. He can make a splash play every now and again against the run, but overall on tape, he doesn't hold up. And then the pass rush, like he'll flash here or there, but he's never had more than 4 sacks in a season. He's had opportunities. And the surprising thing was that no one claimed him. So that tells you what people around the league think about him. And then he also has that heart condition, unfortunately, that some teams probably aren't going to sign off on. Raider fans have a fear that he's going to go off and be Denico Autry or Shelby Harris and put up 8 to 10
Always.
sacks somewhere. I don't think that's going to happen. He's a fine rotational piece,
Mm-hmm.
but in this style of defense for what the Raiders are going to ask, I just didn't see the fit, and we've talked about it on the podcast, so I wasn't surprised at all.
Yeah, so they have a bunch of running backs in this draft as well. And we talked about running backs maybe going in the first round. James Conner goes to the
Arizona.
goes to the Cardinals. They have a situation there. The Steelers, on the other hand, are letting people know that they need a coordinator. They want a running back. Of the running backs who are available in the draft, whether it's Williams, Harris, or ETN, which one would you think would fit that team? And do you think they should even be looking at a running back at all? Because if you don't have the offensive line, it doesn't really matter.
I don't think they're going to take a running back in the first round, but let's just say they do. I think it's Najee Harris. I mean, big, physical, fits the Pittsburgh mold. You can run him
Cold
between the
weather.
tackles, cold weather.
Yeah.
He gets better as the game goes on. He can catch the ball out of the backfield. So I would lean that way with him, but I just don't think that they need offensive linemen, like you said. They don't have any tackles, really. They lost Matt Filer. They're going to lose Villanueva. They need to go offensive line. Or edge rusher. They lost Bud Dupree. So if there's an edge rusher they like in the first round, knowing that you're about to pay TJ Watt a ton of money, you need to have someone on the other side that's cheap. And I don't know if they like Alonzo Highsmith enough to think that they can just hand him the starting job next year. The guy they took last year out of was it Charlotte? UNC Charlotte.
Yeah. What's going on in Green Bay as far as this whole thing with Rodgers in the contract? Like is that like, am I misreading that thing where they can if they do something with his contract, they'd be able to get more money to assign more pieces. Why? Like what? So here's my thing about Green Bay that drives me crazy is that like teams have been searching for quarterbacks forever. They have like 20, 25 years of great quarterback play. They got 2 Super Bowl rings for it, whatever. Why can't they just load up like just this roster with just buku offensive weapons all over the place so they can take that next step? I mean, they almost beat Brady with a team they currently have.
I don't know. That's the $1 million question. They had Brett Favre. They went out and they obviously got Reggie White, and that he helped them propel them, but they didn't do a ton around him. And then Aaron Rodgers comes in, and they just, for whatever reason, Ted Thompson just did not go out on the free agent market, did not spend money. I don't know if it's a funds issue because they're They're publicly owned. They're up there in Green Bay. They don't have a rich multi-million-dollar owner like other teams do.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's the market size, but there's something going on up there where they just won't spend the money. But going back to Aaron Rodgers, they could restructure that contract and open up money and just move money into the future. But for some reason, they haven't done that. My guess is, one, they don't want to spend the money anyways in the free agent market. But two, they have Jordan Love sitting there, who they took in the first round. So if you do that, then you're basically saying, okay, Jordan Love, you're not playing for the next 3 years. So I hope that's not the reason. But there's probably 3 or 4 things that are playing into this, but that has to be part of it.
I'll put it to you that I listen. If Jordan and Love could really play, and they were confident that he could play, you can get a huge haul for. I mean, you can't do it now because the structure of their salary cap is already like kind of in place, and they're waiting for the rookie contracts. But when free agency started, I mean, what could they have gotten for Aaron Rodgers? I mean, like, come on. I mean, 3. I mean, shoot. I mean,
and he's 37 years old, 37
years old. So, like, I mean, it's just crazy. Like, you know, I mean, why would you not just like, kind of jump all over that? I mean, you could even have said, you could even call the Dolphins and said, hey, you know what? So what if you got Tua? He's on a rookie contract. I mean, let's go win now. He can sit for a couple of years, and you get right. I mean, I don't understand like how you sit on gold like that. I mean, they're sitting on gold, and they just don't. It's almost like they don't appreciate it. It's kind of, and it's a place where people want to go play. Like people don't say, oh, I don't. Even though the cold weather and stuff like that, but people know what they're getting. You're in the playoffs every year with Aaron Rodgers.
They also took A.J. Dillon in the second round, knowing they had Aaron Jones, and Jamal Williams last year. So their first and second round picks, they didn't get anything out of.
And then they signed him. Like
they signed Aaron Jones to an extension. Yeah,
I thought they were going to walk and let him walk, and then they ended up signing him. So they signed. So they got Love and him, and Dillon, and they didn't take the next step. Like the most valuable thing
for at least next year and probably for the next 2 or 3 years. So those guys are going to be in year 4 before they even get on the field. Would anything be more John Gruden than if the Raiders don't make the playoffs and then you see Aaron Rodgers somehow find his way to Vegas at 38 years old and John Gruden knowing he's got to win? Like I can see that happening a year from now if the Raiders don't make the playoffs. John Gruden just taking a wild swing. I don't want it to happen at that point. He'll be 38 years old, but
I think the thing about
that's not possible because it probably
it probably is. I think, and then Carr goes to Green Bay, and wins. That would be hilarious. Did you see that John Gruden's 7th season with the Raiders, 7 seasons with the Bucks, the same 57 and 55 record for both teams.
One had a ring and one didn't. So
well, I mean, yeah.
That's interesting.
That was Tony's. We know that. Come on, that was Tony's. And they were a little bit more patient. Tony would have won one. I mean, come on.
Yeah,
that's fine. That's fine as far as that goes. So excited about the draft coming up next week. We will definitely finish the mock draft. Any other NFL pieces or nuggets you want to go through before we say goodbye?
I would just say be careful out on the Twitter streets what you read. There's a lot of smoke screens out there right now. You're hearing, hey, the Dolphins are taking calls on pick 6. I'd be very shocked if the Dolphins trade out of 6. Like they're just trying to create interest in case someone wants to give them 2 or 3 ones to come up there. But everything you hear of teams looking to move picks is coming from those teams. It's not coming from other teams because they're trying to drive up interest. The Falcons sending everyone to Trey Lance's workout. Is that a smoke screen or are they really considering him? At this point, I think they're leaning Kyle Pitts. I would take a quarterback, but that would only do that if Justin Fields was there, which in our exercise he's not, but in real life he probably will be. So we'll see. But there's going to be a lot of stuff swirling in the next 10 days leading up to the draft, and most of it's not going to mean anything.
No question about it. It should be fun times. It should be fun times. But I just listen. As far as what the Raiders are going to do, I don't we talk about that in the silver lining. But it's really I think this, like I said, I want a boring draft. Just give me a safety and give me tackles. As I said, give me tackles and give me offensive linemen. That's all. I want a boring draft.
You just want to hit it down the fairway. That's what you're trying to do. Because if Carr's protected, the offense will run,
and be good and be at least the 27 points a game they had last year. Defensively, I mean we have what we have defensively on the defensive line. You mentioned it. It's going to be very difficult to crack that lineup as far as that goes. We'll see what happens as far as that. I mean, we talked about it ad nauseum that Arden Key was going to have a hard time. To me, Arden Key is more of a outside linebacker on a 3-4. Like I could see him doing that for somebody. Like I could see him doing that. As far as Moorhurst, I mean, I don't know how Moorhurst is not gonna be. I mean, he had a good game against the Bears and Khalil Mack, but I don't see him doing anything like that. I think the one thing I don't like is that I think Cleveland should be careful with Clowney, because I feel like they have a good thing going. Why bring that into the locker room? I think you could have brought another pass rusher in. I think I would. I mean, I know people on our YouTube chat are saying that Melvin Ingram's a bum and he's done, but I mean, I would rather bring that into the locker room than bring Clown. He had 0 sacks in like 8 games last year. He's not a playmaker. Like he's just not. And this is the final straw. If you can't get sacks next to Garrett on the other side, or on the same side, like maybe move somebody inside. You just can't beat anybody one-on-one enough to be a factor.
No, and in Seattle the year before, he had 3 sacks, if I'm remembering off the top of my head. It wasn't a big number.
No, it doesn't.
And the year before that in Houston, it wasn't very many. I don't know if he's had a 10-sack season in his career. I want to say he had.
I don't think he has
9.5 one year in Houston.
I don't think he has
a double-digit sack year in his career.
He
was playing next to J.J. Watt there for a while too. So,
yeah, interesting times here. NFL Put On Waivers NFL show on this channel, which is the Cover 3 Deep channel. You will find the Cover 3 Deep Raider podcast, myself, Ryan Holmes, and the Put On Waivers NFL show, and then James Amato and myself. We'll talk about Put On Waivers MLB show. So, and then next month, put on Lakers podcast. So I know Laker fans are like, you did one earlier, and all of a sudden we start. Well, maybe I'll do the Put On Lakers podcast when AD and LeBron get back on the anniversary when they come back. As far as that goes. All right, Ryan. I know it's late. Get some sleep, man. I'll take care.
All right. We'll finish